Do we need an agenda? I know some of my agile colleagues frown upon the idea of bringing an agenda to the different Scrum framework events. And I understand where they're coming from. They promote, expectedly, the idea that these are self-managing teams. So why would they need an agenda? Well, my counter argument is that as a good facilitator, I want to set the tone for the event. I want to make sure that everybody understands what we're going to be covering. I want to help them understand that we are time boxed. There's a limited amount of time we have to move through these events. So understanding the different discussion points that we must cover can help us all manage the time a little more reasonably. Looking at each of the events, sprint planning, in particular, if I'm working with a new team, having an agenda, at least for the first few sprints, can be very helpful. As the team matures in self-management, possibly they could start changing that agenda, and ultimately, maybe they could even abandon the need for an agenda. The daily scrum. Well, historically, the daily scrum used to have a little more commonly used structure. You may have heard that there was an expectation at one point historically where each team member would come to the daily scrum and they would share what they worked on the day before, what they plan on working on next, and what obstacles are keeping them from moving forward. Over time, even those very simple expectations fell away to now where there's no description of how the daily Scrum gets carried out. And because now in current Scrum Guide thinking, the daily Scrum is for the developers, that means the developers only. Scrum Master and Product Owner are not formally listed as people in the daily Scrum, then those developers should certainly indeed feel comfortable self-organizing, self-managing around that 15-minute daily discussion. So maybe there's no agenda needed there. What about the sprint review? Well, keep in mind that you've got stakeholders coming to the sprint review. And although we would like the sprint review to be more informal, more conversational, less structured, we also know that just like some of our new Scrum teams, some of our stakeholders have not yet embraced the expectations of self-managed teams. And when they come to what they would call a meeting, they're going to expect some structure. Now, we're going to help them understand how we do things a little differently, the Scrum framework, but is it so awful to have an initial bullet pointed list of things that those stakeholders can expect when they come to the sprint review? The retrospective. Have an agenda for that? Well, keep in mind that the retrospective is a very flexible event. There are many different formats, many different ways of discussing areas of improvement. You've probably seen there are books and articles that list through the different ways that you can conduct a retrospective. So it does seem reasonable to me that the Scrum Master, as facilitator, would have some form of expected agenda for any particular retrospective. Now, please understand, I'm not demanding that we have agendas. Just as an experienced facilitator, it can be very helpful.